he take precedence over everything.
Man, you looking at a God.
I know that.
God is your hands.
I know that. I know that.
Who you looking for to show up? Who you looking for to show up?
What I'm asking is, so now you don't want to hear me. I was talking to you, and I was listening to you. Now I'm asking you to listen to me. I was listening to you.
You God, I'm a God. We here right now. We here right now.
We dying.
What y'all talking about?
But we dying, bro. But we dying.
It takes time.
Here, hold it out. Let me hear him talk for a minute.
Certain conversations.
You gotta be out here every day. You can't just try to come out of nowhere and try to tell us about the community that you don't live in.
I ain't looking down on you. I'm God like I'm God.
What you said before.
What I said before was, when we come out to the community, we know, listen to me real quick, listen, I heard you. When we come to the community, we know it's brothers and sisters out here that's about their life. We understand it because we come from it. But listen to me, that's where we come from. I'm saying, I used to want to die for the sect. Now I'm ready to die for the Lord. That's what I'm saying. No, so now I'm saying for you, me and you as brothers, when me and you and these brothers here step on the scene, we the gods that the Bible's talking about. I'm saying when we step up in our community,
y'all causing commotion.
You not letting me finish.
Everywhere I see y'all,
you know why? Because we trying to warn our people. We trying to warn them. Watch it, let me hit it. Can I read one thing real quick? So you don't want to hear the word of God, that's why our community stay the same. We don't want to hear the word, no, we talking about our people in this community, man. Read. Psalm chapter 82 and verse 6. I have said, ye are.
Proverbs 29 and 9 and 10. If a wise man contendeth with a foolish man, whether he rage or laugh, there is no rest. The bloodthirsty hate the upright, but the just seek his soul. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone, rule well, peace, and salutations to the elect, and much respect to the brothers pushing his word in the four winds of the earth. And shalom to you few sincere sisters out there as well. This is Brother Ariyah coming at you with another lesson here. All right, and this is exactly why the apostles tell us, don't preach in the hood, man. Okay? And there's no need to go back and forth arguing with a man on the street. Okay? You don't argue with fools, because when you argue with fools, you appear to be one yourself. All right? So, you know, the slogan is, if they can't get it, you know, they can move on. They can kick rocks and you know, go about their way. You know, if a nigga can't get it, we moving on at the end of the day. There's no back and forths. Okay? No arguments, no debates, none of that shit, man. Okay? Because through the spirit, you should be able to discern if a person, you know, is pretty much open to the truth or not, man. And as you can see, those men were not open to the truth. They were just, you know, stuck in their ways, you know, arguing against, you know, the word coming out. Smoking on camera, being disrespectful, throwing up the, you know, the middle fingers and all that. You know, blowing smoke into the camera. This is why, you know, we don't preach around the hood like that, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what you're going to deal with, or worse. Okay? It could be gunplay, knife play, you know, whatever. That's why it's not wise to be around men like that. It's not wise to be around the 2/3 like that. Okay? Because it says here, it says the bloodthirsty hate the upright. And that's what the 2/3 of our people are, man. Bloodthirsty at the end of the day, man. They love to kill. Okay? They love to inflict harm to those that are striving to be righteous. So why it's not wise to be around them or try to preach to them. This is why the scriptures commanded us to go to the highways and the byways in the place of chief concourse, man. Okay, not in the hood. I remember a couple of years, maybe 4 years ago, Sakari had did, you know, they were out there preaching or whatever, and it was like at a gas station, all right? And it was looked like a hangout spot, like after all the clubs let out, and that's where everybody goes, okay? And there was, you know, niggas everywhere, all right? But they was out there trying to preach to them, and then all out chaos just broke out, okay? And Sakari had to run their asses up out of there. But they were unwise, and they put themselves in a situation that could have been dire, you know? So this is why you stay away from these niggas, man, okay? Because they mean you no good at all right? And IUIC should know better, but of course, they stay doing some dumb shit, man. And I don't like to call people dumb, but that was not smart at all, man. All right? That's not smart. To be going back and forth. You already know that these dudes are super emotional, okay? They don't know how to handle themselves like men. They handle themselves like women at the end of the day, man. Okay? They go off of their emotions, okay? They don't use wisdom. So what's the use of being around them? Let's go to Ecclesiastes 22 and 13. And it says, talk not much with a fool, and go not to him that have no understanding. Beware of him, lest thou have trouble, and thou shalt never be defiled with his fooleries. Depart from him, and thou shalt find rest, and never be disquieted with his madness. Okay? And this is why we stay away from dudes like this, man. Okay? Of course, we'll have some people that'll come up, you know, and be disrespectful or say some BS or whatever. It's going to happen, okay? But if you in smack dab in the middle of the hood, it's gonna happen more frequently, man. Okay, this is why it's a waste of time to talk to someone with deaf ears, man. That's not really trying to hear what you're trying to say, okay? But you know, really wanting to be combative and go against what you're saying. Okay, that's what these niggas out here do, man. Let's get Ecclesiasticus 8 and 17. All right, and it says, consult not with a fool, for he cannot keep counsel. Okay? And a lot of these dudes out, they don't have any rule over their spirit, man. They don't know how to control themselves at all. You know, they get in their feelings and they don't know how to act. You know, a lot of these dudes, you know, like I said, they're not men. They don't know how to conduct themselves as men because they weren't taught how to conduct themselves as men because they were not brought up by men. Okay, so there's no need to be, you know, dealing with these effeminate dudes out here, man, that just want to argue and shit. All right? There's no need for that. And Nate should be telling his men not to go, you know, to the hoods, man. That's what he should be doing. Let's get Luke 14 and 23. Okay, and he says, and the Lord Yahweh Shai said unto the servant, go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in that my house may be filled. Okay, so let's go to that word highways. All right. Okay, it says a way, a traveled way. Okay, a road, a traveler's way. Right? You know, most of the dangerous blocks, okay, are the back streets. They're not the main roads. Okay, you may have some maybe you know, Fulton Street in Brooklyn. You know, there's a lot of stores there, but then you go deeper in and, you know, it leads you into the hood or whatever. Same thing with St. Nicholas, uptown, you know, up by, you know, Washington Heights is, you know, closer to Manhattan. It's a little better, but as you go up St. Nick, you know, it turns into a hood. But anyway, you know, that's where you want to be. You want to be, because the scriptures say to go to the chief place of concourse, man. Okay, Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1 and 21. And it says, she crieth, talking about wisdom, she crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the opening of the gates. Okay? In the chief place of concourse. This is where you'll see a majority of GMS camps, in the chief place of concourse, not in the hood. Okay? Not where, you know, a bullet could be whizzing by, you know? But now Jake's is getting out of hand. I mean, that could happen too. Okay, but it's more likely to happen in their habitat, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Where they feel comfortable doing that shit. Okay, it's not as likely to happen in the chief place of concourse, you know, where business is happening, where people are shaking and moving, okay? And this is where you'll see GMS camps. You won't see them in the hoods preaching to the 2/3, man, the people that we know to be 2/3, man. Okay, we can feel their spirit and see what type of, you know, time they're on, man. We disassociate ourselves from them, okay? Because they ain't nothing but fools at the end of the day, right? Let's get Zechariah 13:8, because they're 2/3, man. And this is why they're going to be cut off and they're going to die, man. Right? And it says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Okay? And we pray that we are of the third that is left therein. But the 2/3, the 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. Okay? And what you've seen in the video, those are the mannerisms of those that'll be cut off and die. You know? Those are the mannerisms right there, the disrespect. Okay? The pride, all right, the wickedness that you saw on the video, man. This is how these 2/3 get down, man, and this is why we don't deal with them. Okay, this is exactly why we don't deal with them, because they don't know how to conduct themselves as men. So it's a waste of time. Okay, let's get I'm just gonna get Matthew, and I'll just end it here. Let's get Matthew 10:16 through 18, right? And it says, behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Beware of men, okay? For they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, okay? Beware of men, okay? These same men, these same 2/3 are going to be the ones that come against us, just like the 2/3 came against Yahushua when he was crucified. These are the same spirits that are back in the earth right now, man. Okay, this is why we don't have any dealings with the 2/3, because we already know what part they play in the movie, man. This is why we don't deal with them. Okay, because they're going to be the same ones that are going to be like, okay, yeah, I know he a Hebrew Israelite. Yeah, we're gonna give him up, because they probably going to be giving people rewards, you know, for our capture. Okay, it says, but beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, meaning to whip, to beat. Okay, the same way they did Yahushua, it's the same way they're going to do the prophets, man. And ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. Okay, and this is a prophecy that's coming. And you already seen, you know, they trying to outlaw, you know, the Bible. We've been seeing that. Okay, they trying to outlaw freedom of speech. Okay, they trying to outlaw anything that is, you know, the anti-Sim. If you know what I'm saying, the anti-Semitic statements and things of that nature, which is bullshit. Okay, because we're Shemitic, not Semitic. We're Shemitic. Okay, but yeah, a lot of you know, trouble is coming. You know, from all angles, from all people of all walks of life, man. You know, so that's why it's best to just, you know, stay closely knit, you know, with the brotherhood, man. Okay, because we all we got. That's C and B. We all we got, man, at the end of the day, man. Forgive my folly, but you understand what I'm saying. We all we got at the end of the day, man. You know? And you'll know when the Lord, if you're out there in the highways and byways and the Lord sends someone to the camp, they're going to be humble. They're not going to be screaming. They ain't going to be throwing up middle fingers. They definitely ain't going to be smoking no weed by you or a cigarette. They're going to show respect, okay? They're going to show respect, okay? And they're going to be willing to learn, okay? Those are pretty much the signs that you look for in a person when they come up to the camp, all right? Are they humble or are they not humble? And, you know, we can quickly discern whether they're either or very fast, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that demon to come out as well, okay? Because people know how to hide until something ruffles their feathers and their true self comes out. But at the end of the day, this is foolishness, and this is what we don't deal with at all, man. And another thing, how you going to let somebody all up in your you know, all up on you like that, touching you and shit like that. Nah, you know, what you'll notice is brothers in GMS will collectively tell you to back your ass up, man. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you know, we're not pushovers. You ain't gonna be all up in our faces, man. All right? We ain't chumps at all, and we ain't out there trying to be tough guys either. But you best believe we gonna defend ourselves, man. At the end of the day. All right? We always on defense. We ain't on offense. We on defense. Okay? So, yeah. At the end of the day, you know, this is what you don't do. Okay? Go to the hoods and all that, because you put yourself in danger. Okay? Always remember, we in the battlements of the city, man. Anything can happen. So if you use wisdom and apply wisdom in your walk, in this journey, you know what I mean, you pretty much will be safe. But if you do anything other than that, man, you put yourself at risk. Shalom.